count to 3. Come with me, and you'll be in a world of
Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do.
You have found Daniel Donato's Lost Highway.
That lost highway.
Howdy, y'all. We are here, episode 43 of the Lost Highway podcast. I am Daniel Donato, and this is the podcast of all things cosmic country. How are y'all feeling today? Something I've been thinking a lot about is my little sister, Naomi. She's 10 years old, and she is teaching me something that I think I was forgetting. And she's just starting to play piano. And I was around 12 years old when I started guitar, and she's 10 and she's starting to play piano. And I watch her play, and she learns these videos off TikTok and YouTube, and she plays with just her right hand most of the time, but then her left hand she sometimes incorporates. But I watch her eyes when she plays and shows me these melodies that she's learning, and she just loves it, and she's discovering it. And the thing is that she's discovering externally the piano, but then she's also discovering herself. Right? She's discovering her connection to a muse of inspiration, and that is a timeless, beautiful source. And I think the lack of expectations that she has for herself, the lack of expectations that she has for her gear or her identity, how people perceive her, or her success in the field is actually allowing her to have a more true and honest relationship with the muse. And I feel the joy when she's playing. And I'm starting to feel cliche saying these things, but I think it's very true, where it's try to create and exist in a place with what you do and love from that initial source of love and meaning and lack of expectation. Now, if you want to have a career in something and you want to create something that is worth of value to a demographic of people, you know, you got to fulfill some expectations, but you don't need to have expectation overload to where you start compromising your identity to fit into something that isn't truthful to you, therefore inherently lowering your success ceiling and also the amount of time that you can be achieving said success. So working hard, implying self-pressure while working hard at something you love, that is our job as humans, I think, in some way. I think life has enough struggle that is strategically set up for us to acknowledge and grow from, that we don't need to create any struggle. Like, that's where things start getting hard and stressful and overwhelmed. And, you know, that's just when it starts not getting fun. And when it's not fun, then it's not going to last. So that's what my 10-year-old sister is teaching me this week. So I appreciate y'all for listening. Stay patient, stay persistent, stay positive. Stay cosmic. My next guest today is Mr. Robert Henry. He's living out west. He's a phenomenal country musician. And the way that we met was I was playing at Robert's Western World, which is my second favorite venue in the world, aside from the Ryman Auditorium, but it's my most played venue in the world, as I've played over 500 shows there. I've been playing there since I was 16. Robert was there with his girlfriend on a Wednesday afternoon watching us play, and there was no one in the bar. It was just them, and they stayed for 3 hours to watch us. They bought a new vinyl from the recent Cosmic Country album release, and then his girlfriend hit me up on Instagram a few days later being like, would you check out Robert's music? I think you would dig it. And if you'd be interested, would you have him on the podcast? So I check out his music, and I fall in love with it. He just put out a new EP. It's really well thought out. Very honest, traditional, Western, American artistry. And it just touches my soul. We hadn't met before this podcast, but 30 seconds really. So what y'all are experiencing here are two dudes on their journey, finding their way through the music industry, writing songs, picking Telecasters, and loving country music. Hope y'all enjoy this podcast with Mr. Robert Henry. Robert Henry, what's going on?
Not much. I'm glad we got that sound figured out.
Yes, my friend. Really, it's a real thing. It's odd how the end of the year turns into a very busy time because it's the last thing you're expecting. But then all of a sudden, those last 2-3 weeks of the year, it's all the phone calls that you should have had in November. You have to have them now, and the days you're busy. So, man, I'm very excited for this podcast for a couple reasons. Well, we met when I was at Roberts. I was playing down there. And was that you and your girlfriend?
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys came and watched us play. and there was literally no one there. It was pretty much you guys wearing these badass Wrangler and like Lee denim jackets, just hanging out with us for a couple hours. And I think she hit me up to say that you wanted, or I should invite you onto the podcast. I'm not exactly sure, but I love that. I love the fact that I don't really know you as a person, but I love your music. And I love the fact that we met down at Robert's Western World. I mean, that's just a kind of a cool story. And most people that I meet there that seem to have a genuine thing about them, it leads to a nice thing. And so to be able to talk to you for the first time in a conversation, like as opposed to just having coffee with you where no one else hears this, we can share it with the world. And I bet we have a whole lot in common and all that. So fill me in on what's going on in your world as of late, and where are you presently?
I'm about 20 miles south of Portland, Oregon, a little town called Aurora.
I love
basically,
Aurora.
Yeah. Have you been there? Have you been out west?
Yes, indeed. Yeah, I went out
sweet.
west when I was playing in the band called the Wild Feathers. They were this band signed to Warner Brothers, and they had just released their second record, and their guitar player was like, I think, in and out of rehab at the time. And so they needed a guy who was going to be like in the band. And so they tried me out, and it was like my first road gig I ever had. And we went out west to all over the place. You know, we played where we played in Seattle. I think we played the Tractor Tavern, or is that?
Oh, I love that place.
Is that in Portland or Seattle?
That's Seattle. Yeah.
Okay. I forget where we played in Portland then. But we did. And we just took that drive, and my God, we were coming all the way up from Southern California and Northern California up to your way. And man, it was a unbelievable couple days. We were in a thing called a bandwagon, which is kind of like a bus, but not really. It's like a cheaper version of a bus. So it's like you would take all the place where you live on inside, and you just create that into a trailer that's hitched onto just a removable truck bed. And it's wild, man. It was a crazy, I drove that thing. I was like just turned 21 at the time. It was a wild time of my life. It was fun though. I was a huge fan of that band too. Like when I was growing up, like in high school, just discovering Americana and country music. I grew up in a town called Spring Hill, which is like an hour south of Nashville. And I didn't really know until I was 14 that like, that I liked country music and that where country music was made, and just how deep and complex the roots of the tree run. And I discovered that band, man. I was just like, my God, if I could ever play in any band, it'd be that band. And then a couple of years later, I got the gig. So
there you go. It's hard work pays off, man.
It does. Yeah. So it does sometimes. It's cool to see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're in Aurora. What's going on in Aurora?
Nothing.
Yeah.
The neighbors' cows are all still alive.
That's it.
Chickens are running around in circles like they always do. So everything's normal here. Portland can get a little sketchy sometimes, but it's a fun city.
Yeah, Portland's in pandemonium presently.
Yeah. Well, I mean, nothing compared to DC right now, right?
That's absolute pandemonium. Yeah, there's a whole thing. Yeah, it's wild.
I couldn't believe yesterday. It was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot to not believe about what you're being forced to believe. And it's, my gosh, this is a very intense time. Yeah.
Yeah. Lots to write about, though.
So you write songs? Do you tour? Do you tour as well across the country or locally in your region?
We've been kind of in our region. We do like the Oregon, Washington, California, and then like kind of go into the inner west, like go Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, South Dakota, North Dakota, that whole area. This February next month, actually starting on February 5th, we're going to be down in Texas pretty much all of that month. So that'll be my first time actually doing shows down there. And then I'm actually going to be in Nashville in like 10 days, going to do a couple songwriters rounds and, you know, do that whole game. And, but yeah, I write songs too. And we actually just put out a EP. It's called In the Works. I don't know if you got a chance to listen to the whole thing, but basically the whole premise of it was, you know, especially not being in a place like Nashville where there's studios everywhere. Everything really shut down out west here because California's numbers were really bad when the pandemic first hit. And then the governors of Oregon and Washington just kind of made a pact with Newsom and said, whatever you guys do, we're going to do. So everything was pretty much locked down. and we were trying to get our record done and put a full album out.
Mm.
And I kept telling people at, you know, these shows, it's in the works, it's in the works, it's in the works. And I finally said it enough times that I wrote a song about it. And it's basically just, it's the title cut is the first track on there. If you look up Robert Henry on Spotify or whatever streaming platform you use.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, it's just basically about being a traveling country singer in a pandemic and being pissed off about it. So, and I took kind of a political angle too, and just it was like, you know, kind of like a come together, like we don't have to be at each other's throats. So.
Yeah, man, something I was thinking about yesterday. First and foremost, very cool concept behind that. My favorite songs are the ones that are just direct articles from the writers' lives, man. Like Tom T. Hall, that is his thing. It's like you would have to have been him to have written that song. I guess it must be that way with any piece of art, but like really, really much so. And man, I love the music that I've heard from your work on your Spotify page. Very much so. I like how you're I really love how you're just sticking to a sound too. Like, I always find myself getting very much, and I won't let myself stick to like a parameters of like tried and true tones and instrumentation and song arrangement. Very much so. And the thing that I love about your music and other people like Tom T. Hall's and a lot of country music is that you kind of already know the song before you know the song. Like you can listen to a Jerry Jeff Walker record and it's not going to have too much of a different approach to the craft of writing than would a Billy Joe Shaver record or like a Colter Wall record or like a Tyler Childers record. And I love that because that allows for the identity and the story of that song to be actually the main factor, let alone something that might be a really hooky arrangement concept, i.e. something like Day in the Life by the Beatles, right? Where it's like two dimensions in one song. Man, your songs are real like that. And it's also the concept too of nostalgia, man. So it's like, if you experience nostalgia for old music, then like, that doesn't mean those old things are dead because you're enjoying them. And so it's like, it's not like songs die when like the artist dies. And so it's like that old style of music and that traditional way of doing it. It still really works and it's really effective and it's beautiful. It's funny. It's like, if it just worked then, it kind of works now. And is that something you're trying to think about when you're going to write a record? Are you trying to stay within a confine and a concept, but in a way that is ultimately freeing? You're
kind of reading my mind, man. I'd love to sit down and have a beer sometime. But
this will have to do for now, won't it?
Yeah. Right.
Right.
Yeah. It really depends on what I'm doing because, you know, I've recorded stuff. You know how it is. Like when you're first starting out, everybody's got that one tape in their closet that's never been freaking released. That's like, you're totally embarrassed. But I've done stuff in the past where it's like you go in with a concept, and then I've done stuff in the past where you just kind of go in with the band and you're paying for your studio time that day and you're young and you're just like, we don't know what we're going to do, but we're going to write it in the studio. So
dude, I still pay for studio time with my guys and just go in.
Yeah.
That's such a fun, especially, you know, from a business sense, like if you can own it as much as you can and have as much equity in everything you do, then that's a really smart way to go about doing things. And it's funny how like the model now is pushing people to that. But like all along we were kind of making fun of the guys, or like for me, like I would get a call from somebody who's like funding their own record. And I'd be like instantly, oh, this can't be as good. Like if I'm being a session guitarist on their album, you know, if they're not going through the union and you're not getting paid directly from somebody's, you know, business management, and you have to send them an invoice to their LLC, et cetera. It's like, you would think that shit wasn't as on the level as it needs to be, but it turns out it's not the truth at all. So kudos to you, man, for being independent and going out there and making it happen.
I've always been really big on like, you know, it's the old Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson attitude. Like I want my record to sound like my live band. So why would I hire out, you know?
Oh, wow. Did Waylon and Willie say that?
Well, I mean, that was their attitude.
That was right. Because
Waylon wanted to record with, you know, he wanted to have Moon on the records. He wanted that same sound. He wanted that thumping bass.
Play it, Moon. That is the thing.
Yeah. And I like the way that my steel player plays. So I want him on my record because I don't want people to go to a show having heard my music and then have something completely different. I want to be able to recreate the experience for them.
Yes, sir, brother. Yeah, it's like, is it a really Willie Nelson recording if Mickey Raphael's not accompanying you in all those areas where Willie takes a breath? It's like, that is the thing, sir. It's totally what that must be is like to think on that detail too, even though it might seem fairly obvious. A lot of people don't think that. And it's very crazy because I always kind of have. Even when I was, tracking a lot on people's records and never even thinking about writing my own songs and just like learning how to play with other players, I would never have thought, it's like, I actually like, so if we're in a room full of players and it's a 10 a.m. session and you play from 10 to 2 and you show up and it's, the keyboard player you saw maybe 3 months ago at a jam, and then the drummer, you've never met him before, so you have to get to know how his dynamics are and where he goes. And you guys are playing on a song that you've really never heard before and you just were given the chart. And there's a kind of anonymity to it that creates a certain sound. Like, and it's usually more of like a radio centered, like mass consumed sound, but it's like, there's a thing that's growing now where like Tyler Childers has his dudes play on his records, and it's like Sturgill has his guys plays on his records, and so does Dave Cobb and or rather Chris Stapleton. It's like, I think that's a thing that's growing now because that sound and that energy of familiarity, man, is it real. It really transcends and can create a moment. So that's cool that you have who's all in your band, like not name wise, but like what do you have instrumentation wise?
Oh, I play rhythm and lead vocals, obviously. And then we've got drums, bass, lead guitar, and pedal steel.
Nice. Do you let your pedal steel player like go to the moon and back?
Pretty much. I let him do what he wants.
Yeah.
He's in his 70s. It's hard to, outside of Nashville or Texas, it's hard to find steel players that are, closer to our age. But
and I got to connect you with this kid I've been following on Instagram. His name's Caleb Mello.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, he's awesome.
He's awesome.
Those crazy Haggard licks.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Which I think that's Ralph Mooney on a lot of those, or is it Norm Hamill?
I think it was Ralph Mooney on a lot of the early stuff
with James Burton on the Capitol recordings, right? Like swinging
like Tonight the Bottle that was Moon.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
What a weird intro on that one. Like, how long is that thing going to hang on that 5? How did that happen? Do you guys, when you guys write and jam on songs, is it a thing where you guys talk in numbers or do you talk the letters of the music?
I talk in numbers because just of where my vocal range sits, we end up changing the key of everything anyways.
Oh, wow.
So it's,
how do you go about
easier.
finding like when you write a song, is that different? Is that key usually ending up in a different spot live?
No, because I'll just write my own songs in the key that I want to sing them in. But when we're doing like cover songs and stuff.
Oh, sure. Oh, you guys do covers.
Like you were talking about Tonight the Bottle, like when we were rehearsing Tonight the Bottle, and sometimes you'll have a guy in the band that's not necessarily familiar with classic country. So he wouldn't know that there's a really, really long 5. But yes, short answer is yes, we use the number system.
No need for short answers on podcasts, man. Yeah. It's a crazy thing. It's beautiful. Turns out we love hearing people talk soul to soul. It turns out that that's actually a really useful thing. And it makes sense because people have been doing it longer. They've been playing music. So it's like, very real. That's cool. That's very nice.
So to get back to the studio, the session players versus playing with your own guys that you go on the road with. I will say that the first time I was in Nashville and recorded, I figured out that I didn't want to do it that way, but I was freaking amazed the first time I saw the session players sit down, having heard my original song for the first time. They charted it out in like 2 minutes and then went in and cut it. And it was done in like less than an hour. I was so impressed by that. And then when I went back there again, like if it's like a separate project, if I'm doing like a cover song, like I just released, I don't know if you saw it on my page, but I just released a cover of a George and Tammy song with Georgette, their daughter. Just a little duet. And we did Take Me, that first song that they ever recorded as a married couple.
I don't know that song.
And it was just, I was reminded. I mean, we didn't even actually, because of COVID, I met Georgette, but I didn't meet any of the tracking band. So I
How'd
heard
you meet
them.
Georgette? What was the deal? When you met that?
It was just a connection that my booking agent had. Miss Liz Gregory. She lives in Cookville, but has an office down near Music Row there. And she's actually from my neck of the woods out in Woodburn, Oregon, just south of here. But she's been in Nashville for 30 plus years. And I guess used to know Tammy Wynette pretty well. So she kind of had the connection with Georgette, and Georgette was wanting to do duets. And my agent said, hey, here's this kid. So we just ended up doing it, and it was awesome. Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 28.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing. People like our age don't think 28's a kid, but in actuality, that is a kid, sir. That is a very young person.
I still act like a kid. So,
man, I was talking to my dad about that the other day. I got way depressed for like most of December. And it was this thing where the year was ending. We weren't playing any shows, didn't have like a New Year's gig booked. And there's usually for the last part of the year, there's a nice hurrah in the business.
Yeah.
Dinner with the people that you're making music with all years, a dinner with your agent. There's the New Year's show, maybe there's a Christmas show, a residency. And it's like none of that. And it put me under for a couple of weeks. And my dad was like, man, you are not seeming joyous right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I was realizing like that might've been my thing. I was kind of feeling off kilter with a lot of music last year. I wasn't acting like, I thought I was like acting like a kid with music again wasn't the thing to do. But really, like if you're playing music, then you should play.
Yeah.
Like that's what children do. It's like, and to do that is like, it's very easy, but it's also very easy to lose sight that should be a priority. Is that like you're trying to have fun and be joyous in what you're doing with music? Because if not, it can kind of kill the thing, and it won't be a captivating recording, performance, anything like that.
Yeah. Those first couple months, like what was it, like the second week of March when everything just kind of went to shit?
The 13th.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it was the 13th. But
the Friday.
I kind of went into a slump for like a good 6 weeks there, where I was like, because when you're playing all the time, it's easy to be like, oh, I'm writing songs, like we're getting ideas. The band's tight as a frog's asshole. We're like really locked in.
Right.
And I was like,
that's great.
I was like I was having so much fun playing all the time, and it was just nothing. And then, like I said, I went into a slump like that. And finally I was just like, okay, well, I've got all this time on my hands. Like, might as well just keep doing what I was before and just lock myself in my room and get better at my craft. Right.
Yes.
So
how'd that work for you?
Pretty well. Yeah. I think I got better. I hope so.
Yeah. That's a weird thing too, is music's not like athletics where you can track it in a quantitative way. Like you have to, like you'll watch a YouTube video of you from like 2018. You're like, oh no, I'm definitely better now. Like I've definitely bolted my shell, but it's like, it's not like, oh, he scored 27 in March and now he's at 29 in April. It's like, okay, way different thing. That's cool. Yeah. What were you doing when you have such a fucking good voice? Like you have such a thing down, like really, yeah, man, very beautiful what you do. What do you do to get better?
I actually try to sing out of my comfort zone a lot. Like I'll bring it up a half step or a full step, or just sing completely different songs that I'm not even out of country music. Just to, I'm always trying to expand my range. And then as far as like musicianship, I mean, actually before the pandemic, I barely played any lead guitar, and having that like 8 or 9 months now, that's like, I haven't really been playing a lot. I've been playing a lot more lead. I used to just do an acoustic rhythm on a Taylor, and now I almost exclusively play my Telly, and I'm like totally a Telly guy now.
The Telecaster is the guitar. There's something about it. It was if you think of just how big of a deal guitar is, it hasn't been around very long. And that was man's first solid body electric guitar. And it was like, and women. And it was just like, man, that is the first time that the human species unlocked that dimension. And man, think of everything that's come through it. And the Telecaster was the first. It's very it's a wild thing. It's like seeing a Model T. You're like, you can't think of everything that came from that design. It's like, oh my God, changed the world.
Yeah.
So nice. What kind of Tele are you fucking with?
Dude, honestly, I have no idea.
Even better. Even better. It's great.
I can't find a serial number at all on it.
Oh no. So it's a vintage one. It's like a refit.
I'm thinking so.
Is it a Fender?
It's a Fender. Yeah. And it doesn't have that stamp that says made in Mexico on it either. So, I mean, it looks old. My old steel guitar player picked it up for me at a guitar show over in Southeast Portland, and it didn't come with any paperwork or anything. So, but then I plugged it in and I was like, oh, let's just see how this sounds clean, just straight in without any pedals. And then I was like, holy shit, this is awesome. Like, it was like, it just had that Bakersfield, Don Rich, Roy Nichols thing. Dude. And I was like, man. And all I run is my pedal board is like, people laugh at me. It's literally just a phaser that I barely ever use, and a compressor and my tuning pedal. That's it.
So like, we're talking about the two country sounds, phaser and compressor. Like, we're talking about the two country sounds, of which
half the time with the natural tone of that guitar, I don't even use the pedals. Like, that's how much I like how that guitar sounds. Yeah.
What kind of amp are you using?
Fender Deluxe Hot Rod.
Okay, that's awesome. That's great. Yeah, I love that amp. Man, it's like there's nothing better to test the truth of a guitar than plugging it straight in clean. Like, that is it. Fenders don't very much so. If you're a guy who's creating like stuff at home though, like if you're plugging into like a UA interface and you're trying to like simulate a tone, it might be harder to work on a Tele. But a Tele's like, for the live experience and recording with an amp with a band and doing that whole thing, man, that guitar is going to do it all.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, I actually didn't realize how good it sounded, because I'm really not like a gearhead or anything, or what you'd call a tone chaser. I'm definitely more on the songwriting side, but I didn't realize how good it sounded. I mainly switched over because I got so tired of playing, 3, 4, 5 hour bar gigs on an acoustic and just tearing up my freaking fingers.
How many of those bar gigs have you done? How many years worth?
Ooh, probably getting close to 10 years now.
Yeah. Were you singing that whole time?
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
I didn't start singing until, excuse me, God. Didn't start singing until I was like 17 or 18. But it was actually funny. Well, I'll get to that in a minute, but I do have a funny story for you. But yeah, at first it was just playing by myself with the acoustic in the corner of a bar or whatever. And then, turned into a 3-piece, and then it turned into a 5-piece. And, we ended up, I had a band that was going around quite a bit, the Pacific Northwest area. And we ended up winning the Battle of the Bands up at Ponderosa Lounge in North Portland. It's an old honky tonk that's been there since like the 60s. And so that's when my agent, Liz, got a hold of me, and, we've been doing pretty well ever since. So.
How many shows are you playing?
Oh man. I'd have to do the math on that, but
yeah.
I mean, in a non-COVID year, I don't know, we're probably doing like average of 3 shows a week.
Oh, and then great. I love it.
And then like in the summer when we're out west here playing like fairs and the big rodeos and shit, we'll have like multiple nights, and then we'll go to casino and do like 3-4 nights. So sometimes you're playing like, 18 days straight, 20 days straight. So
Are you doing long shifts when you're doing casinos? Is it those 3-4 hour ones?
Yeah, which
Man.
isn't really my favorite, but
Those can
it
be
is what it is.
tough. Those can be hard.
That's what you were doing when I met you.
Oh, down at Roberts. Yeah. Roberts, there's something about that building that kind of transcends time in a way. But yeah, there's been some long gigs down at that venue, man. We used to play down there from Sundays, years ago from like 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. And in the winter, you're just talking about there is literally no one there. There are the 3 people there that are there working there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Daniel the cook and someone on staff to serve drinks, and then usually a guy named we call Carl who used to work there. And Carl was so funny. Carl probably weighed maybe 350 pounds. I'm talking. Carl was a huge gentleman, and he was very aware of it. And he was hugging people, and he would be so affectionate to all the people coming into Roberts. He would hold up the line. People were coming to Roberts just to get photos with Carl. He wore these big aviators that like came down past his fucking nostrils, and this kind of like a Willie Nelson, like 80s hat, like the back of Stardust, where it's like that weird like Navajo beading and like just worn in leather hat. And he played pedal steel, man. Carl would just chain smoke cigarettes. He'd get there at like 2 p.m. and then he'd be just going, because Robert sells cigarettes. He'd have 3-4 packs in a fucking night. Carl was the man. And yeah, man, there's something special about Roberts. It's cool to play there. But those 3-4 hour gigs, a lot of musicians that don't do that, it's hard to communicate what that does to you as a player. As a singer, just as someone who performs on stage, like that becomes a crucial part of your identity in some way.
Yeah, I would say so. And even when we are doing, we'll get an opening act for a bigger country act at a county fair. We'll be, playing a couple nights at a rodeo, and those are usually easier gigs. But I always try and fill the off nights in. Like I want to go and play in a bar. I want to do like a 3-hour set, take some requests, screw it. Like, let's have some fun. Let's do something different from our normal set. But it can be brutal, but that's definitely that's my comfort zone. That's definitely where I came up. So, I'm still there, but so.
I know that's the weird thing COVID did too. We canceled like a 10-day run, and we had several sold out shows. On the 13th, we drove past pretty much the exit to our venue that would have been sold out there that night. Small venue, the Evening Muse in Charlotte, North Carolina. You ever played there?
No.
You ever been to North Carolina, picked out there at all?
I have not been there for music. No, we haven't done any of the South actually, which is
that's crazy.
That'll be this year.
Okay, yeah, because the South is open. We were playing.
Yeah. And my whole family lives in Central Florida too, so we're definitely going to be down there. I'm thinking.
Where in Florida? I was born in Florida.
Oh no shit! I was born in Winter Park.
Okay, I had a girlfriend who lived near Winter Park. Yeah, near Orlando.
Yeah, my brother actually is
the the I-4 eyesore.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, that's up near over near Altamont.
Yeah, okay.
That weird looking building, yeah.
Weird, yeah. I had a girlfriend, my first girlfriend, her family lived down there, and we'd go down there in December, and there'd be like iguanas and shit outside the airport. Be like, what is this world I just stepped in? Because I don't know what country I'm in anymore.
Where were you born?
Bradenton, Florida.
Okay, so that's over by like Tampa, right?
I don't know. I don't even remember.
Okay.
I'm just saying Bradenton because people say it to me.
Okay.
They said I was born there. I don't remember.
People tell me I was born there.
Wayland, right?
Yeah. Well, I think it was Three Dog Night and then Wayland.
Man, how about okay. Have you read Wayland's book?
I haven't.
Oh my God, man. It is absolutely insane. That guy just talks in song.
Yeah.
Everything he says just sounds songy. And I listened to part of the book, and I read part of the book over this break. And looked into some interviews on Waylon because all this shit like has surfaced up on YouTube that you just never would have thought. Like Waylon's playing some county fair somewhere and they just get him for 6.5 minutes while he's like smoking a cowboy killer, and he's just got 3 rings on his one pinky, and then straight up a superhero, dude. Like,
Yeah.
Waylon might be musically probably one of my biggest influences. I can hear a lot of his energy in what you do. Is that accurate?
Yeah. I vocally too, definitely. I kind of have that lower register. And we cover a lot of Waylon when we're doing those longer bar gigs. And yeah. I hear a lot of that in your guitar playing, like, you know, on that phaser stuff that you do a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. That's where a lot of that idea came from. There's a live album called Waylon Live. That's what it is.
We've got it on vinyl.
Yeah. Yes, sir. It on vinyl is a wild thing. Like to hear how good that band was and just how live they were. And Waylon, he's like a god almost. Like he doesn't even sound like a human the way he just delivers. How'd you go about being influenced by Waylon? Was that you just learning and singing along to his tracks?
Well, I mean, it started when I was, now I'll loop in the story I was going to tell you. It started when I was a kid because my parents were super into old school country. My dad was big into, especially growing up, like late 70s, early 80s. They were right down there in Florida. So you had all those bands coming out of Jacksonville, like Skynyrd and Molly Hatchet and Blackfoot. You had the Outlaws in Tampa, all that Southern rock stuff. Allman Brothers. So they were really big into that stuff. And then my dad ended up getting into like the outlaw country stuff, the Hank Williams Jr., the Waylon, the Willie, all that stuff, Johnny Paycheck. So I kind of grew up with that more classic country. And I actually, one thing a lot of people don't know about me is that I went to Catholic school, and Catholic school, you can't have your hair long. You got to have your freaking shirt tucked in. Collar has to be a certain way. You can't wear a certain type of shoes. Like, yeah. So the first thing I wanted to do when I went to high school was grow my hair long. So that's what I did. I grew my hair long. I started listening to freaking Judas Priest and Iron Maiden and Slayer and Megadeth and all that stuff. All the old heavy metal stuff. And right about, like I was saying, I didn't realize that I liked country music until I was like 14 or 15 and my voice changed.
Oh, come on. That's great.
And I was like, man, I really can't sing Rob Halford or Bruce Dickinson very well. But I can definitely sing some Waylon and Merle and Johnny Cash. So I just kind of went that route and I got super into it. I mean, just all the stories behind the songs and like just how very, when you really delve into it, how incestual old Nashville was. I mean, not literally, well, sometimes, but just like everything was connected. Like everybody knew each other. It really was a small town. And so like that golden age of Nashville, some really, really great music came out.
Yeah. Oh, so what golden age of Nashville are you? What does that mean to you?
I mean, I'm talking about, you know, from like that 50s through probably like the 70s, like just the when it was about the song, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and less about production.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there was some stuff in the 50s that was very much about production, but just my main point really is just like looking at, I just really went down the rabbit hole of country music and just all the different stories behind the songs and stuff. I'm just a junkie for that shit.
So right now there's a thing that's happening in country music that's very crazy for me to see. Cause like when I got my start playing in town, there wasn't really like a very large reaching Americana scene like there is now. Like the Americana Awards are on CMT. Some of those artists, like, you know, they sell out the Ryman for Jason Isbell does like 7 or 8 nights at the Ryman. Like that wasn't a thing then.
Yeah.
I was watching all those cats play when I would go and see Sturgill play in like 2012 to like no one at the 5 spot. And I discovered country around 2009. I think I was 14. I was around the same age as you. My whole relationship with singing is very different than yours. But with guitar, it was just like I was in very much so, like from the front of it, man. And the Roberts where I was playing is actually where Willie Nelson bought Trigger. Like in that room. So it's like very like, I kind of just discovered this gold mine of music. That really just so timeless and beautiful, man. Like, you know, listen to some of those, even like Don Gibson, you know, like those recordings have like amazing guitar players like Hank Garland on them. Like Sea of Heartbreak, Ribbon of Darkness, like, or that might even be Marty Robbins, but even, you know, Marty Robbins too. It's like, you know, timeless songs. Like there's no way you can't not love those. I feel like everyone kind of loves old country in at least in some respect, in some little way.
Yeah. Well, it's, and some people like it and don't even know they like it because, you know, everybody says, well, I like everything but country. And then I'll say, well, do you like Johnny Cash? Yeah. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, well, he considered himself a country music singer. I mean, rockabilly kind of claimed him for a while, but he was a country singer. And they're like, well, I like him. I was like, well, then you like country music, because if Johnny Cash isn't country, then I don't know what is.
So I had a good friend of mine. His name is Bill Miller, and Bill worked with Johnny Cash for like I want to say 25 plus years, and he was really good friends with him. And he ran, I think he ran part of Johnny's estate after, and he owns the Johnny Cash Museum in Nashville, the Sun Diner, and he ran a Johnny Cash based podcast, like very much so into the world of Johnny Cash, and to talk to him about how everyone across the world globally is in Johnny Cash, like how Live at Folsom Prison Blues had like very good album sales in Japan. It's like all these things you wouldn't have expected. And man, I just recently, what that leads to is I just recently discovered Unearthed, the 2003 Rick Rubin, like American recordings collection. And it's just where I'm at right now with my life and what I'm trying to do with music. It's hitting me in a way where Johnny Cash never quite hit me before. Because the way it was before was like, do you know Folsom Prison Blues? And like, do you know Big River? And do you know Tennessee Flat Top Box and Jackson? Right? Because we were just playing popular cover songs. But I never really got into who he was as the archetypal fucking hero that he is. And just, I don't know, man. That I can see why everyone loves Johnny Cash. It's like, there's so much truth. It's like, how does one human have that much truth in them?
I don't know. I don't know. If I knew, I'd probably be a lot more successful musician.
What is your idea of success right now? Right, because that can change, but right now,
honestly, for me, and it has like you were getting at, it has given me a little bit more hope in the past, 5-10 years. Just that this whole like underground kind of Americana, more traditional country feel, whatever you want to call it. It's a pretty wide swath of people, but it's definitely getting more respect and recognition than it did before. Yeah, it really is. So, if you asked me when I was first starting out, I would have been like, you know what, if I can make a living and, have a little life for myself and be self-sufficient and have a bus and tour around the country, and I have a cult following, and I end up like a, whatever, like a Townes Van Zandt type figure. Like you know him if you're really into him, whatever. You don't want not to compare myself to Townes Van Zandt ever. But,
of course. You don't want to be that sad either, man. That was a really hard way to go. That Townes Van Zandt. That's not good. Yeah. You don't want that. Yeah.
Well, I'm not talking about all the bad stuff. I'm just talking about that kind of that level where you're in a niche, like people know who you are. But like I would have been totally fine with that. Now I'm kind of looking at like people are starting to pay attention to this shit again now. So I think I kind of have a shot to at least, do okay. as far as, being able to make some money on this shit. I mean, all you need is a couple good songs, and you don't even need the freaking radio anymore because everybody listens to their music on Spotify and Apple and YouTube and all that shit. So
and TikTok, isn't that wild?
Freaking TikTok. I just made my TikTok.
All right, good. That's awesome.
I held out for a little bit. I was like, isn't this like for little kids? And then I had a couple buddies go viral, and I was like, that seems like a really friendly algorithm. So I'm gonna give it a shot.
Oh wow, a friendly algorithm. That's very nice. Yeah. What a nice observation to have. That's a pretty playful observation. So man, the thing about TikTok is wild because it's like it's very funny. Like either they like you or they don't. And there it is. Like, I feel like that's what the world's coming to now, like with fans. Like, it doesn't matter if like, the people at a certain label weren't into what you were doing and, they're not going to, give you a huge advance and then put, so you can put that all into marketing a single, like on a radio endeavor, right? And doing like a radio tour around just a song and then an album release. And it's like, you don't really need to do that. Not saying that that's not cool. And I'd love to do that, but you don't have to. You could just put something out on TikTok and it really could pop and then you have leverage and then it's your thing. Yeah, man, that's beautiful. What are who are your friends that got viral?
You know what? I couldn't even tell you because I met them at, we did like 4 or 5, open mics around Nashville. And this was like a year ago.
So they're all Nashville guys.
I got to tell you, I was drunk at every one of them.
Do you like playing drunk? I can't do it. Singing drunk, I don't get how someone can sing drunk. Except Hank Jr.
I wouldn't say drunk. I would say I like to have maybe 2 beers before I go on stage. I find, man, if I am very nervous, alcohol will depress me just enough, like 5%, not in like a depressing, like, well, I guess it would be like on a chemical level, but just brings me down a little to where I can focus more. Not on the emotional level, just bringing your nerves down.
Right.
Yeah. That's kind of how I am. I was never the cool kid in school, or I was never very outgoing. I've always been kind of an introvert. So that definitely, am I going to slam back a 6-pack before I go play the first set? Hell no, because that'll be terrible. But that would be very bad. Do a beer or 2. That's perfect right there.
Yeah. So your idea of success, I really want to sell the Ryman. Like that is my,
I just want to play the Ryman.
Yeah. There you go. Okay. That's fair. Yeah. You don't need to sell it out, but yeah, man, have you seen a sold out show at the Ryman though?
I've never seen a show at the Ryman.
Oh my God. It is a transcendent building. It really is. And there's something about why the sold out aspect adds a little flair to it. It's because it's like the building is so inviting. Like you want the whole idea of music is that it invites the people in, their attention in, or comedy, or a good movie, or anything that's alive, that's a piece of entertainment for you to consume. But that building is inviting. It's wild. And the way that it's constructed with the floors going from the floor level to balcony level, the way that the line of sight goes to the stage once you enter the room, it just commands that you focus on it. And there's been so much greatness made there. I have to think there's like a residue of just greatness lingering in the air there. And when a show is sold out, it's like a home team win and everyone feels like it's a sold out show. And that's just it's a timeless thing. I saw Foo Fighters there. Fucking Sturgill Simpson, Jason Isbell, Grand Ole Opry a bunch of times too. It was way better there than it is in like the new Grand Ole Opry building, which is just way bigger and way nicer.
Yeah. No, for me, the Opry's always going to be at the Ryman. I'm when I play the Ryman, I'm just going to tell people that I played the Opry because.
Right.
No, but you really hit on something there with like, that's how I am. I've never seen a show there, but whenever I'm in Nashville, I always go walk around and do the tour thing. But I find myself like trying to breathe in more of the air, like maybe maybe there'll be a little bit of like Roy Acuff, just residue.
Ooh, yeah.
Go and get that some of that in my bloodstream.
That
And
Acuff Rose, man. You want to talk about some of the best everlasting American songs you're talking about.
Yep.
Songs published under Acuff Rose.
mhm. Yep.
So what's the
And-
deal with what you think that is going on with, you're talking about Americanas getting more attention, and how does that relate to you? Do you think, is it that you're just discovering that there's an audience that digs what you do because you maybe thought that there wouldn't be a couple years ago?
That's exactly it. I'm a fan of a lot of these guys, and quite frankly, half of them. I don't know. Was it Tyler Childers of the Americana Awards? He got up there and he was like, "I really appreciate this award, but I'm a country singer, and I think Americana." I'm paraphrasing, but he was basically saying that I think Americana is used by the country radio industry, whoever those gatekeepers are, to basically keep guys like us out of that world because they don't think we're going to sell. So I appreciate the honor, but I consider myself a country singer, and I think Americana is just kind of a made up term in the last however many years to exclude certain country singers.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah. Well, I think there's some good news about that, which is I don't think the fans give a fuck what.
Exactly.
It's like,
no, especially people in our generation, we're like totally anti-label. So it's like,
yeah, on all
it's
things,
good.
on many things, man. It's very crazy to see that. We're also super that too. It's like, I don't want to get into that train of thought, but you're very right on like how we are anti-label, because I know that's the way podcasting is. But he said this thing. He goes, frankly, it feels a lot like purgatory. I was there.
Yeah.
I was nominated for an award that year too, and it was Instrumentalist of the Year. But Tyler, I think, got Artist of the Year, and he was dressed like Colonel Sanders. And so, like, the guy just says "fuck it," and he just does it, and it's awesome. I love him. He's one of my heroes. But yeah, he goes, frankly, it feels a lot like Purgatory, which, as you know, and I bet a lot of people listening, that was the name of the album that he had released that year that got him that award. So what a smart dude. I think leaps like that pay off in like the 5 to 10 year window. Like, cause I'm a fan of life for him for saying that, and then coming back out in the world with Country Squire, and he got #1 country record debut, which it put Luke Combs to #2. And it's like, which I dig some Luke Combs. I really do. But it's like, that's good. Tyler actually did it, man. That's a beautiful thing to see that happen. Yeah, man, it's real. I think it's all the fans though that do it. The fans make that happen.
It is. And it's so cool to live in a time where like, you don't have to be beholden to, oh, I have to have the right person show up when I'm playing at Roberts or whatever. And I get discovered, and then I get signed to a big label, and then, whatever. You can literally just put out your own music. And if you get it in front of the right people that give a shit, you're going to be at least semi-successful. You're going to be able to sustain yourself just playing music, which is all I've ever really wanted.
I know, that's what I want too.
Yeah. So it's been a tough go of it this year, but
this year is a little depressing.
Yeah. We were actually lucky this year though. We got to work a lot more than some other bands because there's so many areas being out west here that have such sparse population. You got like right next door to us is Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, all those states. They were just like, I'm pretty sure some people didn't even know that there was a pandemic.
I believe it, man.
Literally, like they're just living the way they always do, and everything was fine. We came back each time, and I think we went on like 3 like month-long runs. And each time we came back, we did August, September, and then October.
Whoa.
Yeah. All in that like inner West, Midwest area. But each time we came back, we all got tested for COVID, and we all kept coming back negative. And I was like, hey, you guys want to do another round of shows? They want us back. So we do another thing because we were just tired of not working, sitting on our ass for 6 months. So.
Oh, yeah, that's real. My gosh. Like that's beautiful. To a certain population of people, they're going to think that was a valiant effort on your end, and not politically speaking at all, just speaking on a life level. fuck yeah. Like that's what you should do. Like it's part of your right as a human. It's that you can go out and you can work and you can make your dream happen. If you go out and create the opportunities and you're talented enough to make it happen, don't let anyone stop you. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And the people respect that. And that's a nice thing, man. I love that. That's awesome. I wish we had that. We didn't do that at all. We played no shows from like March to September. Just played a couple live streams, which awesome, right? Really cool to interact with the technology and interact with people that are consuming it in that medium, but it's not a show.
It's not a show. And
like, yeah.
People sometimes, my buddies will get on there and text me after I'm done with the live stream and be like, hey man, like you seem kind of off. Like when I used to come see you at the pub or whatever, it was like, you were kind of into it. I'm like, dude, I'm like talking to a screen. I can't see anybody.
It's how these Zoom podcasts are in contrast to real human podcasts. Not bad though, because you're talking to a human. Like, so there's always going to be a liveness there. But to have somebody's body language in the room and to have their literal energy, it changes the way the conversation can go. It changes the whole vibe of the thing. And man, with shows, it's the realest thing. Yeah, absolutely. So you guys are playing like Wyoming, Montana, Idaho. That's cool. Who comes out to those shows? Right, just a lot of ranchers, right? Just a lot of cowboys,
basically
local.
Yeah, a lot of local people. I mean, and then there's a ton of fairs and rodeos to play out there.
Oh, yeah.
So it's rural, man. It's just the people from Montana and Wyoming and Idaho. And they decided at the state level that there's not that much tourism and there's not that many people coming here. So, and our numbers are really low. So we're still going to have concerts, and we reap the benefits of that the best we could. Cause like I said, we just, we got so tired of sitting on our butts. But yeah, definitely played some places that we wouldn't necessarily have gone.
Okay.
Probably for less money than we normally would have taken.
Yeah.
However, this business, as you know, is all about relationships. So I think we made some lasting relationships, and they're not going to forget that we came out there and did that. Some of these bar and club owners and stuff during the hell that was 2020. So, hopefully it'll turn into some more shows and some word of mouth stuff and all that kind of deal.
Long-term thinking. Yeah, man, that is absolutely the way. That's absolutely one of the pillars of just common sense that makes sense to keep in your thought process, because you can choose to then, in contrast, say, I didn't make, this amount of money this year, and I didn't, hit that main market 3 times like I was planning to. I didn't play New York 3 times. It's like, okay, so you got to look at the long term. It's about the seeds that you're sowing. That's beautiful. Yeah, man. Right on. Do you guys ever played Nashville? You haven't played anywhere in the South?
So when I'm in Nashville, I'll play by myself. I haven't brought a band down there yet. I guess I could schedule shows with a band, but I've never really done the Nashville thing, so I wouldn't really even know how to go about that. I've always played with my guys out west here, so maybe it's me just being skittish because I was talking about how I like to have my band, but I'm actually playing. Gosh, what am I doing? That I'm playing the Whiskey Bent on the 20th.
Yeah, man. My friend Bobby Johnson owns the Whiskey Bent. He's a good friend of mine. Did you interact with him at all?
I didn't. My booking agent did all that.
Okay.
But,
they've always had they've had a good foot in the door in bringing in out of town talent downtown on Broadway, and usually charging a cover charge, which is not the business model down there. It's the freemium, right? Like you can go and you can pay if you want, right? But Bobby's is a astounding individual, man. I believe it was him and his father opened up Whiskey Bent, and then they owned a handful of venues, took ownership of other ones that were already kind of established venues in town. But Whiskey Bent stands strong. And the day they opened, I was playing. It was CMA Fest, and I was busking outside just for tips. And Bobby, I was like 14 years old, 15 years old. he came up from behind me and he took my amp and he took my guitar case that had like hundreds of dollars in singles in it, and he brought it inside. And I'm like, what's this man? This man's stealing my shit. Oh God, it's the worst. He's this big, like 6'2", bald, strong dude. And I'm like a 14-year-old child. And my dad's like, hey, what's going on here? And because my dad inspired me to go and start busking downtown and try to make a living at playing guitar very fast. And just what I was doing, what was ever in my repertoire at the time. And Bobby's like, no, I'm going to let him play on stage during switchover from these bands. And
Nice.
that relationship is carried on to this year. Bobby hired us for shows while they were reopening in November and December. And, you know, there were a couple of nights we were playing down there. You know, so was that 11 years later this year, where there literally was no one that came in for the entire show for 4 hours. You know, it's a wild energy to play to an empty room. Did you guys experience any of that during the?
Oh, dude. Not necessarily during that, because you know, it's some of these places where you go, you don't get a lot of bands that do it professionally that come. So if there's a band from out of town, you'll get a good crowd. But at home, first starting out, hell yeah.
Yeah.
I've played to so many empty bars, but it is what it is. It's part of the story, part of the coming up process.
Yeah, man, that's real. It really is. Good. You have a pretty optimistic view about things. Do you think that comes from you saying that you're still a playful person and that you kind of veer towards the younger side of perspective? Or is that something you're trying to like practice, that optimism?
It's definitely, I don't know. It's probably a combination. Everybody has good and bad days. Sometimes I'm Eeyore, and sometimes I'm, you know, always looking forward and trying to be optimistic. I've definitely had to work on that this year, because it looked like, I mean, we had, you know, as you know, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars worth of bookings just down the tubes. So that was tough.
It was a lot of thousands. What was that, 4,000?
It was something like that. Yeah. But it was just in the past year and a half, 2 years or so that I was a sheet metal worker by day. And then I was, you know, playing shows and stuff around Pacific Northwest at night with the band. And I finally made that leap and said, you know what? I've saved up enough money. Fuck this construction shit. I'm going to go do what I want to do and make money at it. Then like not 6 months later, everything gets shut down and nobody can play live. I'm like,
oh
fuck.
My God, sir.
So
that's so funny. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with The Hero's Journey?
Yeah.
Joseph Campbell?
Yeah.
There it is. You know, that's your call. And, you know, that was the monster waiting for you to confront, you know. Again, it's you can take any situation and make it an advantage. It's a variable that's going to determine your success, not handicap it. And you guys made that happen. That's very that's stellar. A common excuse I was hearing as to why people weren't going out and playing shows is they're like, you're going to receive blowback on a social level. But I only saw that with like Chase Rice when they were just like, did you ever see those photos of like, it was like Chris Jansen, Chase Rice, they played some festival and it was outside and there was no one wearing masks and they got all this blowback on social.
I think that was somewhere in Idaho. It was like somewhere in northern Idaho.
Okay. Maybe so.
Yeah.
Maybe
I think I did hear about that.
Maybe if you're a smaller artist though, that no one's going to care anyway. So you might as well go out and play. Like no one's going to care that you're playing a bar in Idaho.
Yeah. Well, and Whitey Morgan played Sturgis this year.
That was, and there was a lot of,
I mean, he's got a little bit more notoriety than he has in the past now, because he's more established. But I mean, I heard about it for like a week and then everybody forgot. It was on to the next thing. So I wasn't really worried about it because like, you know, somebody complained, I'm going to be like, okay, well, do you even know who the fuck Robert Henry is? And the answer would be no. And I'd be like, okay, well then, you know, don't worry about it.
You're right. That's real. Man, that's cool. So you're coming to Nashville in 10 days. You guys are going to plan on doing Texas this year. You working on any new music? What's going on right now?
Back to the connections. I went out we were touring through Wyoming. We stopped over in Laramie. I was going to shoot with this YouTube channel called Western as Fuck. I don't know if you've seen any of their stuff.
I love their shit. They're great.
But yeah, so I did my video shoot with them, and then I got talking with those guys, and one of the guys, Sean Hess, is a bartender at this bar. We ended up picking up a couple impromptu shows at this bar, the Roughed Up Duck in Laramie, Wyoming. So it's a place, but we had fun.
It's a place.
Anyways, I got to talking with Sean, and he actually took us out grouse hunting, and we were just talking music the whole day. And come to find out, I was like, well, where'd you do your album? And he was like, because I had listened to it and I really liked the production value on it. I was like, did you go down to LA or Austin or Nashville to do this? And he was like, no, man, I did it up the road in Laramie. So the plan is sometime this spring to go out to Laramie and to go ahead and do our full record with Prairie Gold Studios in Laramie, Wyoming. Because I also
cool.
I like the idea of also, like, we've been out west this whole time. Let's put out our first full length out west. Let's do the Western thing. And like we also do kind of have like some Bakersfield influence to our stuff too. So let's just kind of like keep that theme going. I hate when, sometimes promoters will try and say like, oh, he's a Nashville recording artist. He's from Nashville. It's like, no, I've never resided in Nashville. I've recorded a couple singles there, but like, I don't really have any. I go down there to do some business sometimes, and that's pretty much it. And they'll put on a bill like Nashville Recording Act, Robert Henry Band, and I'm like, no, like we're from Oregon, like fuck that, because like I don't know, we're kind of proud of that.
Yeah, you should be proud of where you're from. That's real. That's the thing is, YouTube says what needs to be said. Your content says what needs to be said, man. And that'll get it out. It is weird to see how promoters try to leverage parts of your identity that you might not agree with in order to gain a higher return on their investment. And you can, if you empathize with them, you can see how that would work. And then it's also the thing too, though, where it's your blood, sweat, and tears. It's your life. You don't want to sell your story the wrong way. It's a weird negotiation that a lot of people might not think about when they just look at a marquee. But it's interesting to shed light on, just for everyone who's listening that's not a touring musician. You would never think of that, because most people be like, oh, Nashville, that's not wrong. I don't give a fuck. I'm not from there. But they don't realize that that's actually saying a lot. There was a tour I was on with an artist. I won't say their name. And it was before I started doing my own shows. I was figuring out what that is. And I saw on Facebook that I was getting billed as a performer at that show.
Oh God.
Facebook event. And I'm like, what kind of fucked up promoter management relationship is going on right here, where somebody is making money off my name and people are selling tickets. I'm getting messages being like, when are y'all playing tonight? It's like, oh, I didn't even know I posted about this. And he's like, oh, here's a Facebook event. And it's like Daniel Donato with X. It's like, I'm just playing guitar in your band and I'm getting paid $100 a day and sleeping on the floor. Like, if I'm going to get promoted, like I want to, that's how the market should be. And man, it's a tricky thing figuring out how to represent yourself and do all that. Do you have any management that you're working with right now, or is it just your agent?
Just the booking agent. I mean, the only thing I have as far as management is just basically myself.
Your girlfriend did. Your girlfriend hit me up. She's like, you gotta get Robert on this podcast.
Yeah, she's been running the social media stuff, and yeah, I don't really have a manager. I mean, my freaking dad handles like the business side of shit. So he handles all the money, makes sure I don't spend it all on beer and cigarettes. So
that's right. What cigarettes do you smoke?
And guitars. I'm trying to quit, but Marlboro Reds. So like basically the worst cigarette for you.
The worst one. I was in Germany with my band in 2019 October, and I never smoked. It wasn't my thing, but when we were in Germany, I smoked the whole time, and it was only Cowboy Killers. That was all we would carry.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was, man. It's a real thing. Like, especially if you don't smoke cigarettes a lot, you just take a puff of a cigarette for a show, that gets you high. Like that nicotine buzz is, I don't know, maybe because you smoke often, it might not hit you, but man, I was wired, sir, playing some shows.
I remember that feeling when it used to happen. Yeah.
Oh,
I know what you're talking about.
Man, that's cool. So when did the works come out so everyone can get a vibe of that?
So In the Works came out right in conjunction with that first little like 3-week run that we did in August. So it was like first week of August, I think.
Wait, was it August 7th?
Yes, it was.
That's the day my record came out. How funny.
Oh, no shit.
How funny is that? That's really cool. That's a little cosmic. Yeah, man, this is the one I listened to. This is the one you sent me. Yeah. Nice, man. Yeah, I think it was Usually Goes was the one that I have hearted. I'm looking at it. Nice, man. That's cool. You just put out yourself. That's awesome. I can't wait to see what happens for you and to see what the year holds for you, man, and watch your story develop. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. It's, your talent is very real. So
thanks, man. That means a lot coming from you.
Right on.
Because you're pretty much like one of the best guitar players in the world right now. So, yeah, no, I'll definitely be around town. Like I said, I'll look up where you're playing, and hopefully if I'm playing downtown somewhere or in town somewhere, you can come by and hear me too. Or
yes,
I'm doing a couple songwriters rounds out at Scoreboard too. So I know you're busy, but
no, that's why I'm here though, is for music to absorb it and learn it. Yeah, let's write a song too. We'll get together here at the cottage, the Cosmic Cottage.
I would love to write a song.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Right on, dude.
One of my favorite activities. This
was fun. Everyone go check it out. In the Works, because it literally is in the works. The greatness is happening.
Yeah.
All right. Happy New Year's, my friend. Stay safe and all that. What was that hat you were wearing? What was that was that Stetson you were wearing when you were at Roberts?
I believe so. Yeah. I picked that up in a antique store, secondhand store in Portland.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. That's awesome. I wish my head was shaped right for a hat like that. Very jealous.
Oh, do you ever wear a hat?
I do trucker caps sometimes. We're actually about to release like this Cosmic Country trucker cap I'm pretty excited about. I tried a hat. It just didn't feel right. Didn't feel honest to me. Maybe one day. We'll see. Yeah. For you though, it like looks like, oh, that dude wears that hat. Like there's no questioning it. I feel if you look at me, they might be like, what the fuck's he doing with that stick? 3X and Bieber first.
It took me a while to get used to, but you just got to find the right hat. But anyways, before we go, do you mind if I shout out the old social medias?
Please. Yes.
All right. So we got roberthenrymusic.com. You can pre-order a copy of our vinyl record In the Works, our EP. And those will be pressed pretty soon. There was a little bit of delay. Again, everything's fucked up because of COVID.
Yep.
We got at Robert Henry Music on Instagram, and we have Robert Henry Band on Facebook. So
yes, follow it, like it. Yep, subscribe.
We're probably the most active on Instagram. So
what about
TikTok? And I do live streams every Thursdays, and I take requests. I play my own songs. I play like new stuff that I'm working on. And I play actually tonight at 6. I'm going to do one 6 p.m. Pacific. So yeah, I know this won't air till later, but
that's awesome. And you got on TikTok too, right?
I did. So yeah, I'll be doing that. I haven't posted anything yet, but I'll probably go shave my face and try to get some content for that right now.
I wish I had to shave.
Dude, I have like patches. I don't know if you can see, but like part of it's like a baby, and then it's kind of frustrating actually because I'm so close to not being having to shave all the time, but I do.
Cool, man. This was fun. I'm glad we got
this. Was really fun. Great talking to you.
It's the first time I ever met somebody over a podcast in a way that wasn't you know, like I not really known what you do aside from knowing that one piece of work, you know. So it's very cool. Everyone I've had on here, I've kind of already known them as a person, or I've, you know, watched interviews with them and I know all their records and I've been fans for years. And so it's cool to meet somebody who's in the same stage of life as I am, still in our mid to late 20s, out there trying to grind and tell the stories to the world and just be the best you that you can be and find out what success means and finding it and finding it in your life, man. So I'm glad we got to share this too with everyone who's listening. It's the magic of a podcast.
Yeah, man.
Right on. All right, y'all. It is a journey. Keep this in mind and use the free tools that are readily available to you at any given moment to stay patient, persistent, and positive in order to enhance this journey and get the most that you can out of it and leave nothing on the table. Follow what comes to you so you can work the hardest at it with the most amount of love and truth in your system, and it'll last longer. Very excited to go and cut this new record for y'all. Very excited to see what comes from this new mentality they have and how that affects the music. In the meantime, go ahead and follow and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, patreon.com at Daniel Donato, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all the places. But most importantly, oh my gosh, most importantly, DanielDonato.com, Cosmic Country Club. That is where it all happens first. I can't even tell you, but it's going to be special. Y'all subscribe. It's free. Talk to y'all later.